The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious podcast. I'm your host, the original HBIC, Katie Boyd. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitchiously. Here I am, the HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. What's up, guys? Hello. I want to first start this podcast with a quote from me, because I'm kind of a big deal. And I wanted to say, a woman who does not require validation from anyone or anything is the most powerful on the planet. Quote fingers, Katie Boyd. So I just want to start my podcast off with this today because really this podcast is all about being a bitch. And I think the problem is the word bitch has had such a derogatory, low-grade definition. And I actually want to redefine the word bitch to the acronym being in total control of herself, because I really, truly believe that we, as women, have all the power in the world to do that. And, the word ambitious, right? It's kind of a play on the word ambitious. And I'm in the middle of writing my book, actually entitled Ambitchious. And I was looking up the word ambitious in the dictionary. And it was awesome because it meant, hardcore worker, all these different amazing things. But then I got to power hungry and pushy. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit? When did wanting more out of this thing called life become so bad, right? So, ambitious, in my opinion, has always been an empowering word, right? And then what would happen was I would meet men and women alike, which is pretty fucked up, by the way, but men and women alike that would call me a bitch because I wanted more. I wanted to climb the ladder. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to service and help more and more people. And, the news flash, though, it's okay for you to want more. And screw it if the people who are scared and want to judge you and label you are here walking this earth, right? So I came up with this word ambitious to start a movement. And really, the podcast is just one point of this movement. I'm going to be creating programs. The book is going to come out. All the women that come to my wellness center in Hudson, New Hampshire, they live life ambitiously. They are truly living that life. And my goal here is to really start a movement that will redefine the word bitch. And the word bitch in the Webster's dictionary actually means to complain, to whine, to grouse, or a female dog. Fucking classic, Webster's dictionary, really. Suck it. And I am going to empower women to use this acronym, being in total control of herself. So during our time here together, every week, every Tuesday, I will be here spinning on the ones and twos on my Ambitchious podcast. And during our time here together every week, I am going to give you all the tools that you need to create and curate a life of magic and power. So a little bit on who I am. Other than the fact that I'm Katie motherfucking Boyd, that is my middle name. No, it's actually Elizabeth, but I renamed myself motherfucking Boyd. I'm the number one trainer in the country, 3 years in a row. I'm a nutritionist, a motivational speaker, an entertainer, an essentialist, a self-proclaimed funny girl. I have a potty mouth. I don't know if you haven't noticed that, but I have a potty mouth as well. I've been featured on the Dr. Oz show. Oprah has quoted me in her magazine, which was made my panties so wet. I think they're still drying out on the line, and that was 5 years ago. I had this little reality television show called Wicked Fit. It was on E! And Bravo and the Style Network, and it's actually now still being syndicated overseas, which is so freaking cool, even though I don't get any fucking money on royalty fees. But we'll blame my entertainment lawyer for that on a different show. And obviously, I'm the owner of Katie Boyd's Misfit Club, an all-women's wellness center center in Hudson, New Hampshire. I'm a virtual trainer and a 7-figure earner. And a little bit about my background. So where I grew up. Okay, so I grew up in Taunton, Massachusetts. It's can be a little ghetto, but it's where I am from. Never forget where you come from. That's what my mother always says to me. That's a whole other podcast in itself. Please don't get me started. And when I was really little, I started doing beauty pageants. So my grandmother and grandfather, my mother's parents actually were in the, they had a root beer stand. This is like how old I'm talking about, back in the day, where girls would actually come with roller skates and serve you food. And my mother was always this beautiful woman, and she always wanted to model and do pageants, but of course, like a good Portuguese family, they just throw you in the kitchen. My mom poured like orange soda from like 67 to 77. That's like all she did. And when she had me, she kind of, and she'll get mad at me for saying this, but you know, this is raw and uncensored. She kind of wanted to live vicariously through me. So by the time that I could pretty much walk and talk, I was doing beauty pageants. And I was always entertaining. And from a really young age, as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to make people laugh. I always wanted to entertain people. I always wanted to serve people. And I just didn't know back then that that's what I was doing, right? And I always knew in my heart of hearts, even when I was really super young, that I was always put here to help people make their lives magical in some way. Whether it was helping make them stronger, giving them confidence that maybe they'd never had before, just making them laugh, making their day brighter. I just knew that that was what I was put here to do. And right now, especially in 2018, there's just so much pain in the world. And I want to not only help be a catalyst for change, especially to young women, but to help others be the catalyzer as well. So I'm all about each one, teach one. I feel that we as women have to join hands and help lift each other up. I'm looking out into my live studio audience right now, and I see all these women who I've known from all these different phases in my life. And this is the start of something so fucking big, right? And I know you all feel that in this room. Thank you. So I am all about each one, teach one. So every time that you grow, every time that you go to the next level, you don't do it on your own. You do it with your tribe. You do it with your community of women. We are living in such a time right now where women just shame each other and put each other down for trying to want more out of life. And I'm telling you that we are actually keeping ourselves in the prisons that we're in. So if we can join hands together and help catalyze each other and our greatness, the world is only going to be a better place. We're going to be better moms. We're going to be better friends. We're going to be better wives. We're going to just be better all around. And it's not just a woman thing. We need to be strong for our men, and we need to be strong for, if you like women, you're women, right? So that's what I'm all about here. And my backstory, as I was telling you a little bit before, is from like 2001 to about 2012, this is no joke, and I'm not just like saying this because I'm on a podcast and millions of people are going to hear it. I'm saying this because this is truth. So I grew up like everything is work. It's not about working smarter. It's just putting in the hours, like just trying to outwork each other and like, oh, I'm grinding, I'm hustling, I'm killing it. No, we're fucking killing ourselves, right? So from 2001 to 2012, I was working 18-hour days every fucking day. And I actually wore that shit like it was like a badge of honor. Like, oh yeah, you think you worked hard, honey. I haven't changed my undies in 3 days, and I just brushed my teeth in the sink at my gym. So fuck you. And that's like not cool, right? Like everybody thinks, oh my God, she's killing it. She's hustling. I used to sleep at my gym. I never ate a meal at my house. I was paying all this money for rent at my home, and I would never even leave my gym. I was so 18 hours a day, freaking failed relationship after failed relationships. You guys have to just keep listening to the podcast for the damn relationship stories, because that shit will make you shit a purple Twinkie. Just like it'll make the hairs on your neck stand up, because the stuff I'm about to tell you, because I feel like this is like also, this podcast is like a healing for me. It's like, okay, if I just tell everyone my truth, then no one can fuck with me, right? If it's all out on the table, no one can screw with me, right? So failed relationships, surrounded by a bunch of frenemies, like bitches, and not the good kind, right? The ones that they pretend to be your friends, but they're not really your friends. They're just hanging with you because who you are, what you have. You're wearing your Christian Louboutins. You're going to the club. You're buying them bottles. It's like bullshit. It's all a facade, right? But these are the people that I was around. And actually having a failed television show. So a lot of people don't know that we were actually going into season 2 of Wicked Fit, and the Style Network actually sold to the Esquire Network. And everyone else that was on the Style Network with me, they had already filmed the next season of their shows and didn't even get paid, and everything was just on the cutting room floor, and everybody had to kind of like figure out what the next step in their lives were. I mean, I actually thought, I'm going to have this television show. It's going to go for a couple seasons. I'm going to be able to, go all over the world and do all these things. And yes, of course, because I'm a hard-ass worker and I'm diligent and tenacious, I ended up doing it on my own. But Wicked Fit was a 1-season, one and done. And, it's so funny, too, because all these people were hanging around with me because they were like, oh, she has a reality television show. She's on Dr. Oz. She's doing all these amazing things. And then as soon as the reality television show went kaputski, it was like, I was like me, myself, and I. So all the frenemies left, the boyfriends, the business people, everything just went, okay? And then it was kind of crazy because I always say to my soul sisters at my gym, you think you're having a breakdown, but it's actually a breakthrough, right? And during this time after Wicked Fit was canceled, I really went into this very dark night of the soul. And that's what I call it. And, I totally retracted from all my friends and family. I wouldn't leave the house for days and days and days. I was just a hot, hot, hot mess. And it's so funny because when you're an amazing person and you're a loving person and you're really here to serve, God and the universe always co-conspires to lift you up. No matter what. It might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but it always happens. You just have to have that belief in yourself and your creator and why you were put here on this earth. And it's so funny because during this time, my fiance at the time, who's now my husband, Matt Babine, he always was a meditator from the moment that I met him. And his guru, Amita Chopra, actually in the midst of my dark night of the soul, taught me how to meditate. It totally changed my life. And we're going to talk a lot about meditation on this podcast in the next couple podcasts coming up. But it really changed my life. And it not only changed my life, but it says in the Bible, God always goes ahead and makes crooked places straight for you. And my husband was the catalyst. And then Amita Chopra, my guru, was the catalyst to teach me how to meditate. And then from that day, and I'll never forget, I walked out from my meditation, and it was like when Dorothy was in Kansas and everything is black and white before the twister comes. And when I came out, when I graduated my last day of meditation, it was literally like I landed in Oz. Like everything was just technicolor and beautiful, and the smells and the sights and sounds, like my whole entire brain just shifted itself. And therefore my life shifted itself, right? So from that day, my whole entire identity changed. And I'm going to let you guys know that this is not easy. When your whole world, as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air says, gets flipped, turned upside down, okay, I was him, but I wasn't going to Bel-Air, okay? I was going through the dark night of the soul. And from there, I totally lost my identity that I had since I was 4 years old. I was the pageant girl. I was the coach. I was the trainer. I was the motivator. My whole entire life was judged on what I looked like and not who I was. And that just got really old really quick. So I ended up moving my entire company up to Hudson, New Hampshire. My husband's a world champion martial artist, and he owns this beautiful standalone building. And there was like nothing being done on the second floor. Yes, we love him. We love him. And, I would go up and visit his dojo, and I'd be like, dude, you're not even using the second floor. Like, what's up? And he's like, well, maybe it was waiting for you. And everything just kind of co-conspired that way. In 2012, I moved my entire gym from Wellesley, Massachusetts, and I was making so much money. I had so many clients. I was training anyone who's anyone, the Celtics wives, the Patriots wives, the Red Sox wives, doctors wives. I mean, like, these women were like highfalutin chicks, and I just like left all the money on the table, and I moved my entire company into a different state, just praying and hoping and knowing that the universe and God had my back. And it did, because now I'm surrounded by all these beautiful people in this room. And it's crazy because I was the official trainer for 10 years in the Miss America and the Miss USA, Miss Universe pageants. And I totally resigned from all of that. I just woke up one day and I was like, this does not feel right. I cannot keep training these women to look like this in a swimsuit when they're literally so vapid. There's nothing going on inside, and all they care about is getting a crown. And it's like, I always tell my girls, it's like, no crown, no trophy, no accolades will ever make you feel better about yourself. You are born with everything inside of you right now. God made you this way, but you have to go in. And there is this Joseph Campbell quote, and it says, the cave in which we most fear to enter holds our greatest treasure. And people are so afraid to go into that cave because it's creepy and it's crawling and it's damp and it's dark and there's bugs and there's parasites. Yes, but that is the only way we are going to really, truly become who God and the universe put us here to be. So now I went from being this like reality television star and this pageant trainer and like totally just being like, oh my God, like you have to eat like egg whites and oatmeal and do like 4 hours of cardio a day and like look at your walk, it's terrible, to let's go on the inside, chickadee. Like you got some shit from childhood and past lives. You got to exercise those demons, okay? So now I'm this spiritual teacher. Go fucking figure. I'm a spiritual teacher, but I have a potty mouth and I'm raw and real because I feel like in today's day and age, so many spiritual people are like, namaste, sat nam, blah, blah. And I'm all about that life. Like, good for you. Wrap your head in a white wrap. Like, that's your thing. But be raw and be real. Because it's not about you. It's about helping other people. And I think that so many of these spiritual people keep this like facade going, so they like look holier than thou. And it's like, no, I'm gonna tell fart jokes. I'm gonna talk about shit. I'm gonna talk about sex. I'm gonna drop the F-bomb. And guess what? I'm just as spiritual, if not more, than the other people that are trying to do the same thing, but trying to keep it super, super, clean. You know what I mean? I just want to break through to as many people as I can. And sometimes that takes, saying pussy and fuck. Okay? Let's just call a spade a spade. So now I'm a Reiki master. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a multidimensional healer. You can come to Katie Boy's Misfit Club once a month during one of the full moon or a new moon and do sound healing with me. And pretty much now what I do is I like to call myself a lifestylist. I help people style their perfect lives. So for what I think is my perfect life may not be anyone else's perfect life in here. And that's really what I do. And let me tell you something, it took a whole long time to get to this point. And if you guys stick to this podcast and you really, really, really take what I'm telling you and you put it to work, because all this shit is just theoretical bull, unless you actually take the tools and use them, right? And, I chose to do the Ambitchious podcast, not because I have like all this extra time on my hands, because I literally have like no time to wipe my ass after I take a dump. Like I'm that busy, but I know that podcast is such a platform to reach so many people all over the world who are struggling, who are lost, who are confused, frustrated, overwhelmed, and in need of a leader who has already been through everything with trial by fire. So everything I'm going to talk about this podcast, I have gone through it. I have done it. I have been through it. I am not just being like, here's a theory. Let's take some shit, throw it to the wall and see if it sticks. No, this shit works, okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. This podcast is not for people who take things personally. It is not. I'm going to just warn your ass right now. It is not for people who don't want to put in the work or have victim mentality. Because I will teach people so much stuff and they'll be like, well, it's easier for you. No, it's not, bitch. It's not easy for me. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You have to go deep. You have to go deep, deep down inside and pull out that strength to overcome the stories that you tell yourself. Because no one is putting this shit on you. We are putting it on ourselves. We are keeping ourselves in the prison. And we're pointing our fingers at everybody else. So if you're not happy right now at this moment with where you are in life, it's your own motherfucking fault, okay? And I will swear, as you just heard, and I will tell crazy stories And I will get raw and real. So if raw and real offends your ass, you should probably stop listening now before you go too deep down this rabbit hole. Okay? Are you still here? Are you still with me? Okay. And if you stick around, if you can handle poop talk and the occasional F word, then your entire life will change in a matter of minutes. And this is my solemn vow to each and every one of you who are listening to the Ambitchious podcast. So what we will be discussing in future podcasts is what I like to call the 6 life makers or breakers. 1 is wealth, abundance, mindset, and investing. I think we as women have real money problems. I was one of them. I have gone through so much stuff with money because I was never taught about money as a child. You know, the way I was taught as a child is like, oh, if you're rich, you must have fucked somebody over, right? It's like, what? No, maybe if you're rich, you helped a lot of people. You know, they say if you want to be a billionaire, help a billion people, right? So investing, wealth, abundance, money mindset. Number 2, health, nutrition, and overall wellness. I'm a nutritionist. I have a master's degree in nutrition. I kind of know some shit. I'm a trainer. I have like so many freaking certifications to shake a stick at. And I'm not just tooting my own horn, but I'm really great at what I do. So health, nutrition, overall wellness. Number 2. Number 3, feelings, emotions, and fierce boundaries. Fierce boundaries is everything, you know? And I think we as women, we're so indoctrinated to the fact it's like, oh, if you're sad, just get over it. Be positive. It's like, no, bitch. Sometimes I need to sit and marinate in all my feels. I need to feel that shit to let it move. Stop telling me to get over shit, okay? And the fierce boundaries part is, you know, people will be like, who the fuck does that bitch think she is treating me like that? It's like, excuse me. This is your fault. You have no boundaries. You teach people how to treat you. And this is what we're going to be talking about. Number 4 is relationships. The good, the bad, and the toxic. Oh, man. I could do 3 million podcasts just about this one topic. And the thing is, you know, the way I was raised is, you know, family can do whatever they want to. They can treat you like shit, but they're your blood. No. Whoever shits on your parade needs to get excommunicated. And I know a lot of you people that are listening right now are like, this bitch is a bitch. And yes, that's why it's called the Ambitchious podcast, motherfucker. So hello, get on the train or get under the train. Thank you. And number 5 is your environment. Are you Pinterest perfect? Or are you an episode of Hoarders? And why and how to change it? Because remember, it's like Confucius says, I don't know if Confucius said this, but I'm just going to say he said this because it sounds very Confucius-like. He says, clutter home, clutter mind. That's like, I kind of sound more like Bruce Lee. I love me some Bruce Lee. Don't get me started. But think about it, right? Like if you're living in clutter and dirt and filth and everything is just like explosion everywhere, like that means that's what your insides are like, y'all. We got to clean that shit up. I'm a self-proclaimed essentialist. I used to think I was a minimalist until the Essentialist book came out, and I'm like, no, I just want the essentials around me. So anything that's beautiful and that gives me joy and happiness, that's what I want. And last but not least, non-negotiable spiritual practices. So like, are you meditating? Like, how are you waking up in the morning? Are you rolling over and going right on Facebook? If you are, you're going to get fucked in the ass with no lube every time. Because that shit is just going to control your damn day, right? You go on Facebook and you're like, oh, who's going to fuck with me now? And then you go on Facebook and everyone's like, oh my God, my dog died. Or my mother's a bitch and all the shit. It's like, no, dude, you need... not going on Facebook is its own non-negotiable spiritual practice, but like, how are you setting yourself up every day? Are you setting your intentions? Are you going to your gratitude? What are you doing? Right? Being in total control of herself. Hello, people. This is what it's about. And much, much more. And I'll also be having on guests. Guests are a little bit further down the road. I really want to just give you a lot of KT time and get you like really into the podcast. And then we're going to start having guests on who have also taken their lives, businesses, and struggles to that ambitious level, you know, and there's going to be men and women because we do not discriminate here on the Ambitchious podcast, okay? And on next week's episode, we're actually going to, I wanted to talk about how to make today your bitch, but I don't think I'm going to talk about that. I think I'm going to talk about the Madeleine Albright quote that says, "There's a special place in hell for women who don't help women." So that is on the next podcast. So if you stick around, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And a couple things before I go. So if you go to www.kbmfc.com and you scroll down on the homepage to the bottom, it will say sign up for free newsletter. Whoever this week signs up for my free newsletter, they're going to be put in a drawing to win a $200 keto starter kit from Ancient Nutrition Dr. Axe. So get on there. And the second thing is, if you want to see me live and in person, we are going to be having the most incredible 3-day retreat in Kripalu in the Berkshires. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be in January 2019, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and we are going to have a house DJ. It's going to be a dance party. It's going to be a pajama jammy jam. It is going to be litty as a titty, okay? So you better get your ass to Kripalu, and like I always say, see you next Tuesday, ambitious ones.
And opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.